Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Meg and Dijon are finally gone, and they're in for a shock. Love Island UK, episode 37, and Dijon was complaining about the date, saying that Meg kept going on about the whole Yaz situation. But then Meg was complaining about the date, saying that Dijon kept going on about it. As far as I remember, it was Meg who wouldn't shut up about it. Then they went up to the terrace and she said again, "You had been out the villa all day and I just wanted to tell you that I was speaking to Yaz," and they're still going on about it. And Dee's thinking, fuck off. It was time for the ex-Islanders to return and kick one of the couples out. So Maya told them to come to the lawn and in came the ex-Islanders. And we had the misfortune of having to see blue again. Last night, Megan and Connor were booted out for being the least compatible couple, so the next two least compatible couples were Megan, Dijon and Ty and Angel. So when Blue stood up to vote, he was basically saying, oh, if it hadn't been so near the end, I would have been able to steal Angel for Ty. And he's just so... he makes my skin crawl. His arrogance, just everything about him, I can't stand. And I realise that a lot of the time he's just trying to be funny and he's just trying to be one of the lads. I absolutely fucking detest people like that. Not to mention the fact that we've seen many of the comments and things that his friends have been doing online, so... ugh. Goodbye. Boris was just blatantly like, I can't vote against my best friend, so I'm voting Megan Dijon. Right, so forgive my ignorance, but there was a girl there who had long black curly hair. Was that her? Who was in Casa? Because when she was sitting there, I was like, oh my god, she's actually stunning. I don't remember her. And then when she stood up, she was like, this decision's easy, it's Megan Dijon. And I've not got the best memory, so is that who that was? She was harsh, man. I liked it. So when Ben stood up and voted for Megan Dijon, I think they were a bit surprised, but he was saying, like, you've got challenges in here, but wait until you get to the outside. And at first I was thinking he was talking about the whole, like, Dijon's brother situation, where he's been talking about Meg's sister online. However, Andrada stood up. She looks totally different with black hair. And she was saying, oh, he's talking about his own challenges because when we went outside the villa, we became exclusive and then his head turned 360. Now, 360 would obviously mean from her all the way back to her and back with her, but we know what she meant. And Maya was like, okay guys, let's wrap it up there. Now, I would like to say that I'm surprised that Ben's left the villa and there's women trying to go with him after seeing his attitude, his personality, and how he acts towards women. But I'm not surprised because there's women and men out there who would go with somebody just because they've been on TV, just as they can say, oh, I went with that person who was on Love Island. It's actually pretty pathetic. That being said, Ben isn't the worst looking guy, right? He's actually alright looking, but just his personality or lack of... it baffles me why anybody would go, oh my god, there's Ben for Love Island, man, we'll try and get into him. And by the sounds of it, they succeeded to get into him. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, was I just not paying attention, or were Connor and Megan not there? I don't remember seeing them. I think we all knew that Andrada was going to choose Megan Dijon because of the whole Andrada and Dijon situation. But she actually stood her ground and says, the reason why I'm doing this is because of what Dijon's been saying. Everybody's been cringing for you. Everybody's been embarrassed. The way he was talking about how he looks for the cameras and everything, she didn't hold back. I liked it. Now, what I will say is, it was getting to a point where even I was feeling bad for Meg, and I don't even really like Meg that much, right? I think she's a bitch, I think she's two-faced, and I think she's in for a shock when she gets out the house and actually sees all the compilations of how bitchy she actually is. However, she's standing up there and people are saying, one of these people likes the other one more than the other, this person's really flirty, this person can't be trusted, and that would have been a lot, I think, even though she knows that these people already think this, right, and she's backed him from the very start. But actually having to stand there in front of everybody, in front of all these cameras, and hear that, like, one after the other, would have been difficult. Now, again, I don't really like Emma that much, but when she stood up and she was talking about Meg and Dijon. She says, oh, these people didn't really talk to me, there was a weird vibe, they didn't make me feel welcome in the villa. And Meg was like, oh well, it's Love Island, not Friend Island. And I know for a fact that Shakira was standing there thinking, this is what we've been saying. How they don't let people into their group, they make them feel uncomfortable, they don't welcome people, they don't welcome bombshells and stuff like that. And you just know that Shakira and Tony were standing there looking at each other like, told you. So I think we all knew that Billy Kiss and Alima were going to pick Megan Dijon because of the whole flirting situations. But who was it that stood up and said that he didn't think that any of them were the least compatible couples? He thought it was Yaz and Jamie. Was that Ramel? I can't even remember who it was. But whoever it was, they were like, oh, she doesn't want kids and he wants kids. And what? And what? Just because Yaz is a woman doesn't mean to say she has to have babies. Let me know in the comments, was it Ramel? Maybe I'm just on his back for no reason. Maybe it was somebody else. Lauren and Harrison, oh, when they came up on the screen, I was just like, ugh, I can't even remember who they voted for. So in the end, the votes were pretty close. But we ended up saying goodbye to Meg and Dijon. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Finally. Now the thing is, the more I was thinking about it, I do actually think that Dijon likes Meg to a certain degree. I think that Meg really does love Dijon. But the thing that I don't like about Meg is the fact that she's so two-faced and she's so convinced that she's a nice person. Now listen, you can bitch about people behind their backs and be a nice person, but it's the fact that she blatantly denies it. And she thinks that she's the mum of the villa and she welcomes everybody. When Emma clearly stood up and says, I wasn't welcomed, it was a weird vibe. And Meg has stood by the fact that she welcomes everybody to the villa, but she didn't even say, oh, we tried to welcome you, and it was just like, oh, it's not Friend Island. Fuck off, Meg. I'd be interested to see what happens when she finds out what Dijon's brother's been saying about her sister. It's going to be interesting and we're not even going to get to witness it. But let me know what you thought of tonight's episode and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye!